Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as always, I'd like to give all honor, glory, and from praise and worship to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, HAQADASH. Double honors to our apostles, elders, and bishops, the great millstone, rule well, teaching and sound doctrine, and strong shalom to all for that. And the rest of the large multitude of women, men, women, and children. The Lord will have mercy on these last days. Here's your brother Kadash, representing GMS Branch in Cleveland. Lord willing to bring out a quick and edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Alright. So as you can see, on the screen, I meant to report on this the other day. It slipped my mind, but Spirit had me do another video, but I mentioned it, about the 40 banks. And I mentioned it on the video with two brothers, but it was a crash in China, dealing with their banking system. Okay. And like through the spirit, I reported on this before, dealing with you have small banks, you have larger banks. Larger banks are sometimes known as central banks, and smaller banks are sometimes known as shadow banks, okay, if you will, which I have the definition of a shadow bank, because these are banks who exist by loans given to them from the central banks, which are the main banks. You feel me? So, which is like a company, like when you see when the Islamic first hit, you had it where a lot of businesses closed. Well, that's because they were like a shadow business, if you will. They were an extension of the banks. They were called zombie companies, which when you look that term up, you should find, I don't know, they change definitions and things of such all the time, but zombie companies goes into the fact of companies that are operating off loans from the bank. So once those banks close or have trouble, the businesses have trouble. You see what I'm saying? Which you saw a lot of banks closing, which is why you saw a lot of businesses closing, because the individuals who had these companies, they didn't have it where it was paid in full. They were still paying on loans that they used to open these companies, all right, different businesses. And once that was affected, the business was too, so here you have 40 banks disappeared in China, which is I have here, it says, why are shadow banks and why are they failing in China? So all of the 40 banks that failed in China were from shadow banks. Okay. It says, I just want to read this small insert. It says, why Chinese banks are now vanishing. Okay, it says the savings and loan SNL crisis terrorized America's banks for years, starting in the mid-1980s. A mix of aggressive lending growth, poor risk controls, and a property downturn contributed to the collapse or consolidation of over 1,000 small lending institutions. China's smallest banks are now suffering from many of the same alignments, but until recently, few have collapsed or merged with others. You see, it says that it's starting to change. In the week ending June 24th, 40 Chinese banks vanished as they were absorbed into bigger ones. Not even at the highest of the SNL crisis did leaderships disappear at such a clip. So that's what it is. They merged into bigger ones. Why? Because the system is getting more tighter. Okay, the currency is getting to is becoming digitalized, which is putting a scope on these different offshoots and different things done under the table, or that are done from an extension point of view, such as a shadow bank. A shadow bank in America would be like your small banks, like a Chime, your PNCs, your Huntingtons, your what are these other banks? You know what I mean? Like Chime is a good example. These are small banks created out of nowhere, which are an extension of a main bank, which are central banks. Okay. Let's see. See if it come up. Central banks. I typed in, what is a central bank? A central bank is an independent national authority that manages a country's monetary system and policy, right? It manages a whole country. Central banks have many functions, including monetary policy, currency regulation, banking regulation, and financial services. Let's just go into this real quick. Currency regulation, shit. So it says monetary policy. Central banks use monetary policy to manage economic fluctuations and achieve price stability. They can do this by adjusting the money supply, buying and selling securities, lowering interest rates, and more. It's currency regulation. Central banks issue and oversee national currencies. You see, so what it will, if the system is coming down to a tighter grip. Okay, one cash flow, not many cash flows. That's why the dollar is getting up out here, because to fulfill prophecy first and foremost, and then two, there's no need for it, because if you have one system, a dollar under the table allows you to break that system. So therefore, it becomes many systems. You can become a system within a system, but if you only have one action and one transaction based off the one system itself, you can't become your own system. They now it's being done under the scope, but if you become your own system, like I could start my own business off the grid without the government even knowing, because why? We have something called a FRN note, which allows me to actually move currency under the table and in the backyard. You see, but the one system changes that, because now you have to be on the system to actually participate in society when it comes to currency or cash flow. Okay, so they oversee the national currencies, making sure there's enough in circulation while protecting its value. See, it says banking regulations. Central banks set requirements for the banking industry, such as how much cash reserves banks must keep. So the central bank is in control of all this. They can also act as a lender of last resort to troubled financial institutions and governments. See, they act as a lender to troubled or banking systems in different areas. So if those banks become in debt or whatever the case may be, they have to close down and give because they can't pay the loan. You know, they can't pay the loan that was extended to them from the central bank. You see, because the central bank is responsible for the national, like I said, the national currency. Financial services. Central banks provide financial services such as economic research and act as advisors to the government. So there you have, that's the basis. Let me screenshot this, because that's the basis of a central bank, man. Okay. Now, let me play this video. Now, you think the government give a damn about these people protests? No, it doesn't. Because what they gonna do? What they gonna do? They can't do nothing about it. Okay, they can't do nothing about it at all. You see? Because regardless of how they feel, they're not in control. Okay? The banking families are in control. So they can do what they need to, and when they want to, and how they want to. You see? So these things are merged into one. So, now I mentioned shadow bank. This is a shadow bank. Shadow banking, also known as non-bank financial intermediations or market-based finance, is a term used to describe financial institutions that perform bank-like activities outside of the traditional banking sector. These institutions are not regulated in the same way as conventional banks and do not have formal access to central bank liquidity or public sector credit guarantees. So therefore, it's like this. Therefore, it's really like it's like a shadow, literally like a shadow. Okay, it's here one moment and then it's gone the next. You know. It says shadow banks are involved in maturity, credit, and liquidity transformation. For example, they may raise short-term funds in the money markets and use them to purchase assets with longer-term maturities, similar to how commercial banks use deposits to fund longer-term loans. Because they are not subject to the same strict rules as conventional banks, shadow banks may make riskier decisions which could lead to heavy losses if they backfire. And this is why you see a 40 banks closing all of a sudden. Well, it's not all of a sudden, it was planned, but this will be one of the reasons that contributes to the plan to be able to be made in effect effectively. You see? So and they give you some examples of outside what I said earlier of some different shadow banks. Okay, it says the U.S. has the largest shadow banking system in the world. See, I told you. And this is why the U.S. is going to get hit harder than China, because a lot of people you got a lot of, in each state you have different banks, bro. You have random ass banks everywhere through America. It says followed by China. In 2019, China financial regulators reported that shadow banking accounted for assets worth $12.9 trillion, which is 86% of country's GDP and 29% of its total banking assets, bro. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Now, because of this, it will be easy for them to institute CBDC, man. Let me play this video I got. I'm gonna get a couple scriptures and close out.
Here, the you-know-what out of the global population, and we can gain control. We can start doing things like vaccine passports, and we can restrict your travel. I mean, people ought to be very concerned, because now what are we going through? A potential bank crisis? Be very concerned about a central bank digital currency, where they can just turn on and turn off your ability to purchase certain goods based on your social credit score. That's what happens in China. Do we want that in the U.S.? I think there's certainly people, the technocrats in the U.S., that would like to see that. And with this banking crisis, all of a sudden we're insuring every deposit, no matter how large. Start asking some questions. Be skeptical.
You see, and this is what's going to happen. It's not if. It's like not. It's not maybe. It's not a. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Because the Bible said it would. This is Revelation 13. Revelation 13 and 16. And he calls up all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. See, so no one's going to be able to buy or sell. It says that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. You see? Remember, in verse 16 it said what? Rich and poor. Small and great, rich and poor. So there's no middle class. And this is why, this is what you see now in today's society. The middle class stripped. So now it's just rich and now it's just poor. There's no in between. So that was one of the first steps to instituting the new system. Okay? Because the middle class gives you the sense of mind, if you will. So now you have a thought. You see, now you have insight. But if I make it just rich and poor, you see, now the classifications get smaller, which lessens the minds of the people. You have rich, which will be the high intelligent ones, and you have the poor, which is the non-significant. There's no such thing as a middle class no more. The in between, the ones that might have, no, that's over with. So now they can institute the system, that they need, which is to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive that Charagma, all right, to be aligned with the access of society, and to be aligned with the grid of the beast, the mind of the beast. You see, because this is what Theosis did. He said that they all may be one people. This is First Maccabees. First Maccabees in 41 and 41. It says, moreover, King Antiochus and wrote to his people, to his whole kingdom, that all should be one people. And this is what the goal ultimately is. The central bank. I just read what a central bank consists of and what it does. And it's ultimately to make everybody one people. The grid of things. You see? One mind. What does it mean? I typed in, what does it mean to have one mind? Be of one mind, quotation. Is an idiom that means to have the same opinion or desire as someone else, right? The same thought process. It can also mean to be like-minded or united in purpose, right? To be united in purpose. All right, and this is what MLK, Martin Luther King, tried to push, right? They put him in office to persuade Jake to think like this, and it started there. It started before him. But these seeds, you gotta remember, seeds come from the vibration of our lips, and they're planted, whether good or bad, and they grow. And them seeds, he's no longer present, but those seeds were embedded into the minds of the elders of our nation, which then taught it, and it kept being taught in the minds of the things that sprouted from it, which were their children. Okay, so now we are in today's time. Now the people around us, the Babylonians around us of our nation, would think it not strange to make a covenant with the heathen, being united in purpose, so that they can continue to feed their sprout and their offspring and such and so forth, not knowing that this system actually keeps them weak. It keeps them from their maker, man. It keeps them from Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Because now you're one-minded with the beast and not one-minded with Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. It says, here are some other ways to describe being of one mind, having the same love, being in full accord, doing nothing from selfish. Alright, it says, right, so yeah, man. And we are one mind. We YAHAWASHI. So we go into this word. Let me see. Revelation 13, jumping up to 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, which is this man's system. Right? That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right? And it's speaking and being expressed through his philosophies, his doctrines, his currency, his way of living. That's how it's speaking. And it's gonna get to the point where once the system is implemented, which it has to happen before WW3. The scripture talking about we have pilgrims on the earth. It says the ones that don't conform to this way of living should be ostracized out of society. Ostracized out of society, that's the word. Should be killed. Which, when you go into this word killed, it says this is the word kill. It says Potiano, to kill and to destroy, to allow to perish. It says to extinguish, abolish. It says to deprive of spiritual life. It says did they change this? Let me see. Alright, go to the root word, apo. It says of separation. Right? To be killed means to separate. So you're gonna be, someone might be physically put on alive. Right, the martyrs of YAHAWASHI, not for not getting down with the program, but you're gonna also have a physical. You're also gonna have a separation from life, from the system, because you're not gonna be able to use the system, because you're not taking the Charagma of local separation after verbs of motion from a place, i.e., of departing or fleeing, of separation of apart from the whole. I just read one mind. So if you're not one mind, meaning if you're not one mind, meaning united in purpose, you're gonna be separated. See? United in purpose, you're gonna be separated from apart from the whole. It says of any kind of separation of one thing from another by which the union or fellowship of the two is destroyed. It says away from something near, which is the system. X, you see X here, right? X'd out of society. So, removing, you see. So when we don't get to the conform to the system, it's going to be a separation, a removing, expelling. Okay, it's going to be an expelling, a separation. All right. Yeah, it's going to be a separation from society, man, because we're not going to get down with the program. Simple as that. You know what I'm saying? X'd out of society, bro. So, I just wanted to touch on that real quick. That's what the ultimate goal is. That's what this banking crisis is about. China has a large population. I just read it's the second behind the United States when it comes to shadow banking. Okay. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I like to give all honor and glory and praise and worship to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, HAQADASH. The honors to our apostle, elders, and bishops, great millstone, who will teach you and sound doctrine, peace, salutation to the hopeful elect, the 144,000, and the rest of the large multitude of men, women, children. The Lord will have mercy on these perilous times, and the dangerous times. Till next time, shalom. Calling y'all shalom.